Chapter 1. The Rejection and Awakening. The mating ceremony should have been the happiest night of Isla Gray's life. Instead, she stood in the center of the ceremonial circle, surrounded by 200 wolves of the Silver Pine pack, watching her fated mate's face twist with disgust. I, Marcus Thorn, Beta of Silver Pine, reject you, Isla Gray, as my mate and bond. The words hit like physical blows. Gasps rippled through the crowd, but no one moved to stop him. The mate bond, which had snapped into place just moments ago during the full moon revelation, began to fracture in her chest, a searing, tearing sensation that drove her to her knees. "Marcus, please!" Her voice cracked. He stepped back as if she were diseased. "Look at you. 22 years old and still no wolf. Too weak, too small, too unremarkable for someone of my rank." He gestured to the crowd, his handsome features hardened with contempt. "I am Beta, second to the Alpha. My mate should be strong, powerful, a wolf who can stand beside me with pride, not this defective human pretending to be one of us." Before we continue, let us know if this is your first time on this channel. We do welcome our new listeners and subscribers. So, comment "first timer" and I promise that I'll reply to every single one of you. Isla's best friend, Maya, started forward from the crowd, but her father caught her arm. No one interfered with a rejection. It was sacred, however brutal. The bond is severed. Marcus turned his back on her, addressing Alpha Rowan instead. "I apologize for the disruption, Alpha. I'll choose a worthier mate next season." Alpha Rowan's weathered face showed no sympathy as he looked down at Isla, still kneeling in the dirt. "You're dismissed. Consider yourself fortunate. A wolfless burden rejected is a mercy, not a tragedy." Laughter followed her as she stumbled out of the circle. By the time Isla reached the edge of the forbidden forest, she couldn't see through her tears. The rejection pain was subsiding to a dull, permanent ache, but the humiliation burned hotter. 22 years of training, of desperate attempts to shift, of meditation and ritual and pleading with the moon goddess, all of it meaningless. Defective. Weak. Unremarkable. The words looped in her mind as she crashed through the underbrush. No one followed. Why would they? The forbidden forest was dangerous even for full wolves, especially during a blood moon. The crimson light filtering through the canopy painted everything in shades of violence. She didn't care. Let the forest take her. Let the rogues find her. What did it matter? Isla collapsed against an ancient oak, its trunk wider than 3 men. Her chest heaved with sobs that turned into screams, raw, primal sounds of anguish that echoed through the trees. She screamed until her throat was raw, until she had nothing left. That's when she felt it. A crack. Not in her heart from the severed bond, but deeper. In her very bones. Something that had been locked away, caged and dormant, suddenly stirred. "Hello," a voice whispered in her mind. "I've been waiting for you." Isla's breath caught. "No, it's not possible. We are possible. We have always been possible. But you weren't ready. Not until you broke." Pain exploded through her body. Her spine arched, bones grinding and reshaping. She tried to scream, but her jaw was elongating, teeth sharpening into fangs. Her clothes shredded as her body expanded, muscles rippling under skin that sprouted thick fur. The shift that should have taken minutes felt like hours of exquisite agony. Every nerve ending rewired itself, every sense suddenly amplified to impossible acuity. She could hear a rabbit's heartbeat 300 yards away, could smell the iron tang of old blood on the forest floor, could see in perfect clarity despite the darkness. When it finally ended, Isla looked down at her paws. They were white, pure, pristine white, like fresh snow under moonlight. "What?" she thought, and the voice in her head, her wolf, answered with pride, We are what they forgot to fear. Isla moved on instinct, testing this new body. She was massive, larger than any wolf she'd ever seen, nearly the size of an alpha. Her legs were powerful, built for speed and combat. She padded to a small stream and looked at her reflection. Silver eyes stared back. Not the gold or amber of normal wolves, but true silver, bright as starlight. She should have been terrified. Instead, she felt alive, for the first time in her entire life. The weakness, the inadequacy. It had all been this magnificent creature trapped inside her, too powerful to emerge until something fundamental broke inside her human shell. Isla threw her head back and howled. The sound resonated through the forest, pure and commanding, carrying miles in every direction. It wasn't a cry of pain or sorrow. It was a declaration of existence. She was running through the forest, reveling in her speed and strength when she felt the presence. Another wolf, close. Isla spun, snarling, and that's when she saw them. Golden eyes in the darkness, watching from the shadow of the trees, eyes that gleamed with ancient intelligence and absolute authority. Kneel. The voice that echoed in her mind wasn't a request. Her body moved before her mind could protest. Her powerful legs folded, her massive white form pressing low to the ground in a submissive posture she couldn't control. Every instinct screamed that this was alpha. Not just an alpha, but something far more primal. The black wolf that emerged from the shadows was a monster of legend, easily twice her size with midnight fur and those burning golden eyes. Power radiated from him in waves that made the air feel thick and heavy. "Impossible," her wolf whispered, awed and terrified. "The Alpha King. He hasn't been seen in the South in 50 years. The massive black wolf circled her slowly, examining her from every angle. When he spoke again, his mental voice was deep, measured, and laced with something that sounded like shock. A white wolf. He came closer, his muzzle inches from hers. "I thought your kind extinct." Isla's mind reeled. "My kind? What does that mean?" "Stand," he commanded, and her body obeyed instantly, rising to her full height. Even standing, she barely reached his shoulder. "Shift back, now!" The shift back was easier, her body remembering the human shape it had held for so long. In seconds, she was naked and shivering in the blood-red moonlight, acutely aware of the massive wolf watching her with those penetrating golden eyes. A shimmer of air, and the black wolf transformed. The man who stood before her was perhaps 30, with sharp, aristocratic features and shoulder-length black hair. He wore dark traveling clothes that seemed to materialize with his shift. Alpha magic, beyond anything she'd ever witnessed. His golden eyes, still wolf-bright in his human face, studied her with an intensity that made her want to run. "Tell me your name," he said. It wasn't a question. "Isla Gray." She wrapped her arms around herself, trying to cover her nakedness and maintain some dignity. "Who are you?" A slight smile touched his lips, devoid of warmth. "You don't know? How delightfully isolated these southern packs have become." He stepped closer, and she fought the urge to submit again. "I am Theron Nightshade, Alpha King of the Northern Territories and Sovereign of the Wolf Kingdoms." Isla's breath stopped. Every wolf knew the legends. The Alpha King who ruled the frozen north, whose power was absolute, whose very name made alphas bow. He hadn't been seen in the Southern Territories since before she was born. "Your Majesty," she managed, dropping into an awkward curtsy despite her nakedness. "Do you know what a white wolf is, Isla Gray?" He circled her again, this time in human form, his gaze analytical. "Do you know what you are?" I was wolfless. I just shifted for the first time tonight." You were never wolfless. His voice cut through her explanation. Your wolf was dormant because it was too powerful to emerge naturally. White wolves are the original royal bloodline, the first children of the moon goddess. They were hunted to extinction 3 centuries ago by jealous packs who feared their power. He stopped in front of her, those golden eyes boring into hers. Or so I believed until 30 seconds ago. The forest seemed to hold its breath. What does that mean? Isla whispered. Theron's expression remained unreadable. It means, Isla Grey, that you are not weak. You are possibly the most powerful wolf alive. He paused, letting that sink in. And whether you know it or not, your bloodline makes you my equal. His equal. The Alpha King's equal. That's impossible. I'm nobody. I'm from Silverpine. My parents were dead, I assume? Killed when you were young? At her shocked nod, he continued. Convenient. Your real parents likely hid you here, hoping you'd never shift, never reveal what you are. They probably died protecting that secret. Isla's mind spun. Everything she thought she knew about herself was crumbling. There's much to discuss, Theron said, his tone businesslike. But not here, and not while you're naked and in shock. Can you shift again? She nodded, finding her wolf immediately this time. The shift was faster, smoother. Within moments, she stood on 4 white paws again. Good. Theron's voice filled her mind as he shifted back into his massive black wolf. Follow me. Stay close. There are things in this forest that would kill even you. As they ran through the blood moon night, Isla's wolf reveled in the movement, in the power. Behind her lay everything she'd known, the pack that rejected her, the mate who called her weak, the life built on lies. Ahead lay nothing but questions and a terrifying, exhilarating unknown. The weak, worthless Isla Grey was dead, and she had no idea who she was supposed to be now. Chapter 2. The King's Claim. They ran for hours through the forbidden forest before reaching the northern border. Theron led her to a clearing where a camp waited, not tents, but a full military encampment with guards in midnight black armor bearing the Northern Kingdom's wolf sigil. Every soldier dropped to one knee as Theron shifted back to human form. Isla followed his lead, grateful when a female guard immediately brought her clothing, simple but well-made traveling gear that fit perfectly. How did they know my size? Isla asked. They didn't. Theron was already dressed, his golden eyes studying her. The clothes adjust. Northern magic. He gestured toward the largest tent. Inside. We have much to discuss. The tent's interior was surprisingly luxurious. Furs, a brazier for warmth, maps spread across a polished wooden table. Theron poured 2 glasses of dark wine and handed her one. Sit. Drink. Then listen. Isla obeyed, her wolf still hyper-aware of his dominance. But underneath that primal recognition stirred something else, a sense of equality that shouldn't exist between her and an Alpha King. 300 years ago, Theron began, the wolf kingdoms were ruled by white wolves. They were the moon goddess's first creation, blessed with power beyond any alpha. They could command any wolf with a thought, heal wounds that should be fatal, and their presence alone brought prosperity to the land. He took a long drink. They were also exceedingly rare and mated only to the strongest alphas, usually black wolves like myself. Together they maintained balance. What happened to them? Jealousy, fear, greed. His voice hardened. Lesser alphas couldn't accept that power came from bloodline, not ambition. They formed a coalition and hunted the white wolves to extinction. Entire bloodlines slaughtered. Pups killed in their dens. It took 50 years, but they succeeded. He looked directly at her. Or so every history believes. Isla's hand trembled on her glass. My parents were likely survivors in hiding. They placed you with a weak southern pack, hoping you'd never shift, never draw attention. It almost worked. Theron leaned forward. But here's what you need to understand, Isla. White wolves don't just fail to shift. Your wolf was too powerful for your human body to contain. The rejection tonight broke something in you, not your spirit, but the mental barriers keeping your wolf caged. She's been there all along, waiting for you to be strong enough to hold her. Strong enough? I'm not. You survived 22 years believing you were defective. You endured ridicule, pity, and tonight, public rejection by your fated mate. His golden eyes gleamed. Lesser wolves would have broken. You didn't. That's the strength your wolf needed. Isla set down her glass before she dropped it. What do you want from me? Want? Theron smiled, and it was predatory. I want to know if the legends are true. I want to see if you can master your power. And if you can... He paused, choosing his words carefully. The Northern Kingdom has been without a queen for 2 centuries. White wolves were destined mates to ruling alphas. Your bloodline makes you my equal, Isla Grey. Potentially my queen. Her laugh was sharp, disbelieving. I was rejected 6 hours ago. Now you're talking about making me a queen? I'm talking about recognizing what you are. He stood, pacing like the predator he was. But recognition must be earned. I'm offering you a choice. Return to Silverpine, live as a rejected wolfless nobody, probably end up mated to some weak wolf out of pity, or come with me to the Northern Kingdom. Train. Master your power. If you can prove yourself in 3 months, I'll recognize you as royalty, give you lands, a title, protection. And if I fail, then the secret of your bloodline dies with your failure, and I return you to the south with enough gold to start a new life somewhere else. His expression was unreadable. But you won't fail. I can already sense your potential. Isla stood, meeting his gaze. Marcus's words echoed in her mind. Too weak, too small, too unremarkable. She thought of Maya's pitying looks, Alpha Rowan's dismissal, the pack's laughter. I choose the north. Theron's smile was approving. Good. We leave at dawn. The Northern Kingdom was carved into mountains that scraped the sky. The castle itself was a fortress of black stone and ice, beautiful and terrifying. Isla had never seen anything like it. She also had never experienced anything like Theron's training. Again! He barked, as Isla crashed into the training ground's wall for the 5th time that morning. She'd been here 2 weeks, and every day was brutal. Combat training, endurance runs, power exercises designed to push her wolf to the surface and force her to control it. Theron was merciless, cold, demanding perfection, but Isla was a fast learner. She shifted now with barely a thought, her white wolf emerging in a shimmer of power. The elite guards training nearby, hardened warriors who'd served Theron for decades, kept glancing at her nervously. Her presence made them uncomfortable in a way they couldn't articulate. Focus on me, Theron commanded, circling her in wolf form. Push your dominance outward. Make me feel it. Isla had learned that white wolves possessed an aura of command. When fully realized, it could force any lesser wolf to submit. The problem was controlling it, directing it, rather than letting it burst out randomly. If this is not your first time on this channel, kindly let us know where you're watching from and the time in the comments. She gathered her power, feeling it coil in her chest like a living thing, then released it in a focused wave. Theron stumbled. Just for a second, his massive black form wavered. Then he recovered, but his golden eyes gleamed with something that might have been pride. Better. His voice filled her mind. Again, stronger this time. By evening, Isla was exhausted but exhilarated. She'd managed to make 3 of the elite guards drop to their knees with her aura. Her healing had accelerated. A training wound that should have taken days to heal closed in hours. You're advancing faster than I expected, Theron said that night as they reviewed her progress in his study. "At this rate, you'll be ready for the recognition ceremony within the month." He stood close, studying a map, and Isla was acutely aware of him. The clean scent of pine and snow, the way his presence filled the room, the occasional brush of his hand against hers that sent electricity up her arm. She wasn't alone in feeling it. She'd caught him watching her during training, seen the flash of something unguarded in his eyes before his cold mask reasserted itself. "Why do you fight it?" she asked suddenly. Theron looked up. "Fight what?" "This. Whatever's between us." She met his gaze steadily. "I feel it. I know you do too." For a moment, his careful control slipped. She saw hunger there, and something like longing. Then it vanished behind ice. "Because a king can't afford weakness," he said flatly. "Emotion makes you vulnerable. Attachment becomes a weapon your enemies use against you. I've ruled for 80 years by being untouchable." "That sounds lonely." "It's necessary." He turned back to his map. "You should rest. Tomorrow's training will be harder." 6 weeks in, everything changed. A messenger arrived during breakfast in the great hall. Theron read the letter, his expression darkening. "What is it?" Isla asked. "Your former pack." He handed her the letter. "Beta Marcus is coming here with a delegation. He's claiming you're still his mate by right of first claim and demanding your return." Isla's blood went cold as she read. Marcus's flowery language couldn't hide his true motivation. White wolves were legendary for bringing prosperity. He'd realized what she was and wanted to claim that power for himself. "The audacity," she breathed. "The Silver Pine Alpha is backing him. Politically, this is complicated." Theron stood, pacing. "If I simply refuse, it could trigger a territorial dispute. The Southern packs already resent Northern authority." "So what do we do?" His golden eyes met hers. "We prove that you're no longer that weak girl he rejected. They arrive in 3 days. Be ready." The next 72 hours were a blur of intensive training. Theron pushed her harder than ever, barely sleeping, constantly testing her limits. The elite guards joined in, attacking her in groups to force her to use her power defensively. By the 3rd night, Isla was battered and exhausted. She'd grown stronger, faster, more controlled, but doubt gnawed at her. "What if I'm not ready?" she asked Theron as they sparred in the moonlit training ground well past midnight. "Then you go back to him," Theron said coldly, pressing his attack. "Back to being nothing." Anger surged through her. She channeled it into her power, releasing her aura in a wave that actually made Theron shift backward. They circled each other, both breathing hard. "I won't let that happen," she snarled. "Prove it." She lunged. They collided in a clash of fur and fang, rolling across the ground. Her white wolf was smaller, but she was fast, using technique over raw strength. They shifted mid-fight, continuing the battle as humans, all fluid movement and controlled violence. Isla ended up pinned beneath him, his hand at her throat, their faces inches apart. They froze. Heat flooded through her, primal and undeniable. His golden eyes had gone wolf-bright, his control visibly fraying. She could feel his heartbeat racing against her chest, see the want naked on his face. Slowly, he lowered his head. Their lips were a breath apart. Then Theron pulled away violently, standing and putting distance between them. "If you're to be queen," he said, his voice rough, "you need to choose power, not passion. Tomorrow you prove you're not that weak girl anymore." He looked back at her, his expression carefully blank. "Or I send you back to him." He walked away, leaving Isla alone in the moonlight, her body still burning with unfulfilled need and her heart pounding with anger and determination. Tomorrow, Marcus would arrive expecting the broken girl he'd rejected. He was about to meet someone very different. Chapter 3. The Trial and Triumph. The Silver Pine delegation arrived at noon, 20 wolves strong, led by Alpha Rowan and Beta Marcus. Isla watched from the castle ramparts as they approached, her enhanced vision picking out every detail. Marcus looked exactly as she remembered, handsome, confident, his dark hair pulled back, his stride full of arrogance. He wore formal ceremonial leathers, as if this were a celebration rather than a confrontation. "He thinks he's already won," Theron said beside her, his voice glacial. "Then he's in for a shock." They descended to the great hall where the northern court had assembled. Theron's elite guards lined the walls, a silent show of force. Isla stood at Theron's right hand, positioned as an equal, wearing the deep blue and silver of northern royalty. The doors opened. The Silver Pine delegation entered, and Isla felt the exact moment Marcus saw her. His confident stride faltered. His eyes widened, traveling over her transformed appearance, the way she stood tall and powerful, the silver circlet in her dark hair marking her status, the barely contained energy radiating from her presence. "Your Majesty," Alpha Rowan said, bowing slightly to Theron. His eyes cut to Isla with thinly veiled suspicion. "We've come to reclaim what belongs to Silverpine." "Nothing here belongs to Silverpine," Theron replied, his voice carrying absolute authority. "State your business clearly." Marcus stepped forward, and Isla saw him trying to slip into his charming persona. "Isla, you look incredible. I knew you had potential. I always saw it in you. That night I was hasty. The pressure of the ceremony, my duty to the pack." He extended his hand. "Come home. We can try again. You belong with us. With your true pack." Isla's laugh was cold. "My true pack? The one that mocked me for 22 years? The one where you publicly humiliated me and called me defective?" "I was wrong," Marcus said smoothly, moving closer. "I see that now. But the mate bond was severed by your rejection," Isla cut him off. "You made your choice, Marcus." Alpha Rowan spoke up, his voice harder. "The bond may have been damaged but not destroyed. According to ancient law, a fated mate has the right of first claim. Beta Marcus wishes to invoke traditional trials. If he can prove himself worthy in ritual combat, you are bound to return." "Absolutely not," Theron said, his dominance pressing outward. Several of the Silverpine wolves flinched. "Isla is under my protection. She is—" "I accept," Isla said quietly. Every eye turned to her. Theron's head snapped around, his golden eyes blazing with fury and something that looked like fear. "Isla, no. I accept his challenge," she repeated, stepping forward. "Ritual combat. If Marcus defeats me, I'll return to Silverpine." She met Marcus's gaze, and he actually took a step back from the power in her eyes. "But when I win, he acknowledges the rejection as permanent and absolute. Silverpine relinquishes all claims to me forever." Marcus's confidence returned. He was a trained warrior, a beta who'd won dozens of fights. She was a woman who'd shifted for the first time 2 months ago. "Agreed," he said smugly. Theron grabbed Isla's arm, pulling her aside as preparations began. "This is insanity. You're not ready for this." "I'm ready!" She met his furious gaze steadily. "You said I needed to prove I'm not that weak girl anymore. This is how I prove it." "He's going to cheat. I can smell it on him. Something's wrong." "Then I'll deal with it." She softened slightly, touching his chest. "Trust me. Trust what you've taught me." For a moment, his hand covered hers. Then he stepped back, his expression shuddering. "If you die, I'll slaughter every wolf in that delegation." "Noted." The ritual combat circle was prepared in the castle courtyard. Ancient stones marked the boundaries. Once a wolf stepped inside, they couldn't leave until one fighter yielded or died. Both delegations assembled. Isla removed her formal clothing, standing in simple training gear. Marcus stripped to the waist, showing off his muscled form for the crowd. He winked at her, confident and condescending. "Last chance to surrender, Isla. I don't want to hurt you." She said nothing, centering herself the way Theron had taught her. She found her wolf immediately, felt her power coiling beneath her skin, ready. A northern priest spoke the ritual words. "Let the moon goddess witness this combat and judge the worthy. Begin." Isla shifted instantly, her white wolf emerging in a flash of power. The silver pine wolves gasped. They hadn't realized what she was. Marcus shifted a heartbeat later, his brown wolf large and aggressive. He circled her, and she let him, watching, waiting. He was bigger, more experienced. But she was faster, and she'd spent 2 months training with the deadliest warrior in the kingdoms. Marcus lunged. Isla dodged, using his momentum against him, raking her claws across his flank as he passed. First blood. He snarled, coming at her again. They collided in a fury of teeth and claws. Marcus fought with brutal efficiency, but Isla matched him move for move. Every technique Theron had drilled into her came automatically. She was faster, more agile, turning his size against him. Minutes passed. Marcus was bleeding from a dozen wounds. Isla had taken damage too, but her accelerated healing was already closing the cuts. She saw the moment Marcus realized he might lose. Saw desperation flash in his wolf's eyes. His next attack was wild, and she easily sidestepped, but then she felt it. A burning sensation spreading from a scratch on her shoulder. Not a deep wound, barely noticeable in the heat of combat, but wrong. Poisonous. Marcus's claws. He'd coated them with something. She caught the scent now. Wolfsbane, modified, illegal in ritual combat, fatal to normal wolves. Isla stumbled, her vision blurring. Her white wolf whimpered as the poison spread through her bloodstream like liquid fire. "No!" Theron's voice full of rage, but he couldn't enter the circle. No one could. Marcus stood over her, satisfaction in his eyes. Should have come quietly. His voice sneered in her mind. Isla's body was shutting down. She could feel herself dying. Through the haze, she heard voices. Theron shouting, the silver pine wolves celebrating, the scrape of swords as the northern guards prepared to slaughter the cheaters. Then her wolf spoke, clear and commanding. "Enough!" Something detonated inside Isla's chest. Power exploded outward in a wave that knocked every wolf in the courtyard backward. Her body convulsed, bones reshaping, growing. When she stood again, her white wolf was massive, nearly Theron's size, wreathed in an aura of white fire that burned away the poison like it was nothing. Her eyes, previously silver, now glowed pure liquid light. The royal awakening, the full manifestation of white wolf power. Marcus scrambled backward, his wolf's bravado shattered. Isla felt no mercy, no hesitation. She was rage and retribution given form. She was on him in an instant. Her jaws closed around his throat, not biting down, just holding him, a predator with prey. Her aura pressed outward, and Marcus's wolf went limp, completely dominated, unable to even whimper. "You called me weak." Her voice thundered in every wolf's mind, not just Marcus's. "You rejected me, humiliated me, and then you tried to kill me with poison like a coward." Around the courtyard, wolves were dropping to their knees, unable to stand against her power. Alpha Rowan crashed down, his dominance utterly overwhelmed. The Silver Pine delegation collapsed. Even some of Theron's elite guards struggled to remain standing. Only Theron remained upright, his golden eyes wide with awe. Isla's jaws tightened. Marcus made a gurgling sound. She could kill him so easily, wanted to. Her wolf demanded it. "Isla!" Theron's voice, quiet but cutting through her rage. "You've won. Don't become a murderer." She held Marcus a moment longer, making sure he felt how close to death he was. Then she released him, stepping back. Marcus collapsed, shifting back to human form involuntarily, naked and bleeding and broken. He couldn't even meet her eyes. Isla shifted back as well, the white fire dimming but not disappearing. She stood tall, her silver eyes still glowing faintly, and spoke words that echoed with power. I, Isla of the White Wolf bloodline, reject you, Marcus Thorn, as mate and bond. The rejection is absolute and eternal. You have no claim on me, now or ever. The mate bond, already damaged, shattered completely. Marcus screamed as the final connection severed. Isla turned to Alpha Rowan, still on his knees. Silverpine has no claim to me. Acknowledge it. I acknowledge it, Rowan gasped out, his dominance crushed. No claim, none. Get out of my sight, all of you. The Silverpine delegation fled, carrying Marcus between them. They didn't look back. As soon as they were gone, Isla's legs gave out. Theron caught her before she hit the ground, lifting her easily. The poison burned it away, she managed. But the awakening, it's exhausting. I know. I've got you. He carried her toward the castle, barking orders for healers, dismissing the crowd. In his private chambers, Theron laid her on his bed, fussing over her in a way she'd never seen. The cold, controlled king was gone, replaced by someone genuinely frightened. You could have died, he said roughly, when I saw that poison. But I didn't. Isla caught his hand. Theron, stop, I'm fine. He sat on the edge of the bed, still holding her hand. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then, I've ruled for 80 years. In that time, I've felt nothing for anyone. I made myself untouchable because that's what survival required. His golden eyes met hers. And then you appeared, this infuriating, powerful, impossible woman, and suddenly I'm terrified. Not of enemies or war or politics, of losing you. Isla's breath caught. The coldness, the distance, it was fear. Because what I feel for you makes me vulnerable in ways I've never been. He brought her hand to his lips. I don't want you because you're a white wolf. I don't want you because of destiny or bloodlines. I want you because you're brave and fierce, and you challenge me at every turn. You make me feel alive for the first time in decades. Theron, be my queen, Isla. Not because of what you are, but because of who you are. Rule beside me as an equal. Be my mate, my partner, my... She pulled him down and kissed him, cutting off his words. The kiss was fire and need and everything they'd been fighting for weeks. When they finally broke apart, both were breathing hard. Yes, Isla said, but on my terms. I won't be a decorative Luna or a political prize. I rule beside you as an equal. Or not at all. His smile was genuine, transforming his usually stern face. I wouldn't have it any other way. 6 months later, the coronation was a spectacle that drew dignitaries from every pack in the kingdoms. Isla stood beside Theron in the great hall, wearing a gown of white and silver, a crown of moonstones in her hair. The ceremony was nearly complete when messengers burst in, breathless and awed. Your Majesties! The lead messenger gasped. 3 white wolves have emerged from hiding across the realm. All female, all drawn by Queen Isla's power during her awakening. They wish to pledge themselves to your court. Isla's hand tightened on Theron's. 3 more. Her people, their people, weren't extinct. Just hidden, waiting for someone strong enough to call them home. Bring them to us, Theron commanded. They will be welcomed with full honors. As the celebration continued, Isla's enhanced vision picked out a familiar face in the crowd of visiting dignitaries. Marcus, smaller somehow, diminished, forced to bow to the woman he'd called too weak. He couldn't even hold her gaze. She didn't spare him a second glance. She had a kingdom to build, a bloodline to restore, and a king to rule beside. The weak, rejected girl from Silverpine was gone forever. He rejected me for being too weak, Isla thought as she and Theron addressed their kingdom together, her hand in his, equal and powerful. But I was never weak. I was just waiting to become who I was always meant to be. And now, finally, she was home. If you'll like to watch the continuation of this story, comment part 2 down below and make sure you hit the subscribe button. Thank you.